Today, we're going to talk about one of the weirdest but most popular gecko pets in the trade, the leopard gecko. In this video, I am going to go through my whole leopard gecko collection and I am going to explain all the genetic morphs and tell you why I am getting into leopard geckos. So I've kept leopard geckos for over 10 years at this point, but I never really got into the morphs or into the breeding of them because I really didn't understand the genetics behind them. Now I dove deep into it and I finally understand the genetics, even though in the beginning it was a little rough because I come from the crested gecko world. It's not as hard as it seems, and I am here to explain it to you because I think there's so much potential still with the leopard geckos. And let's face it, leopard geckos have been around since the beginning of herpetoculture, and they're gonna be around for a very long time. And breeders that produce really high quality stuff are always going to be around. So this girl right here is one of my female black knights. This is actually the darkest girl I have, and she will be breeding soon. But I am just so in love with how dark these animals are. So technically this is a melanistic form of a leopard gecko, and this is more of a lion bred or a genetic or a polygenic trait. So it is not like a recessive mutation or an incomplete dominant. It was created by purely breeding the darkest leopard geckos back to each other. There's a gentleman that started to breed the darkest patterns and spots, and he just kept breeding them, and the black kept spreading and spreading until I think it took him about like 10 or 15 years. Then he got to something like this, and now we could all enjoy his work of art because these geckos are just absolutely breathtaking. Just like any other morph or mutation, especially the polygenic stuff, black knights come in a wide range of colorations. So this being a really pitch black knight, there are some that have some dark, but you could still see the pattern. The next girl I'm about to show you is not quite as dark, but she's still pretty dark. All these geckos that I have here are have been cherry picked from some of the best breeders, and I said if I'm gonna breed leopard geckos, I'm not gonna breed, you know, like mid stuff. I'm gonna go like full blown and get the highest quality stuff and breed that. Of course, we're still gonna sell some of the like more common max nose or basic tangerines or normals because that's kind of like part of the pet trade and everybody loves those, especially beginner reptile people that aren't going to pay $1,000 for a gecko. They're going to want those normals and max nose and your basic morphs. But this is the first black knight. Now let me show you the second one. All right, so this next girl is actually in shed, so you won't get to see how dark she is. One thing I did want to mention about the black knights is that because they have been... She just shit on me. Again. She just pooped on me. It's like... This is like common practice. Every time I take a gecko out, they just poo on me. Now, so the black knights tend to have a couple little fertility issues, or they could just not be as prolific as regular leopard geckos, and that is because they were lion bred very heavily at some point. Now, these two girls I'm showing you are actually outcrosses to max nose, but they're not max snow leopard geckos, but they are black knights, so they're not pure black knights. And personally, I don't necessarily care if the animal's not 100% pure, as in like just animals from that particular line, as long as they look like this and they're super dark. I just want healthy, you know, prolific animals, and that's why I don't mind getting outcrossed stuff as long as it's pitch black and it's gonna meet my goal of breeding, which is in this project going to be to produce the darkest animals possible. She is an awesome girl. She will be breeding next year also, like the first girl, and I'm going to show you the male that I have for them because he is a little pit bull, and he is actually a max snow black knight. Believe it or not, this is actually a max snow black knight. You can't tell on these when they're fully grown because the black knight just takes over the whole body, but at some point when it was a baby you could tell it was a max snow as well. And this guy is actually not as dark as the other two females. You could still see some of the patterning, especially by his neck or in that mid dorsal line that he has down the back, but he is just a beefy boy. He is like a little bulldog, and he is going to be my main breeder for the Black Knight project, because he's going to be the one that produces Black Knights with those two girls. He is very, very strong. What I have heard about Black Knights, this is honestly one of my bulkiest geckos as far as how they feel. What I've heard about Black Knights is that they're slow growers. I haven't seen that particularly yet, but again, I'm just starting to really get into the Black Knights. He is super just a friendly dude. He'll just hang out in the front, and he's not scared or shy whatsoever. He can be a little vocal sometimes if I pick him up the wrong way, but he hasn't ever bit me or anything. But just a really cool animal here, and this guy paired up with those two girls should produce some really dark animals, and that's the whole point of this breeding project. Also, I love to name my males selling animals. I want people to know exactly which animal they get from which male. Still haven't came up with a name for this guy yet. I'm thinking something along the lines of like Black Sabbath or Ozzy or something, some dark metal band type name. So if you got a name suggestion, leave it down in the comments. And although the Black Knights are awesome, I do have some other incredible leopard geckos that I think you guys will like also, and those are the Super Hypo Tangerine Carrot Tail Baldies. Now, that is a mouthful. Typically, it is abbreviated as SHTCTB. That's honestly a little bit of an older term. Most people will look at this and just call it a tangerine, because when I was starting to understand all the genetics and everything, I had to go through everything to fully understand it. I just wanted to explain it to you. Super hypo basically means that it has reduction or no black spots in the body, whereas a normal leopard gecko will have a bunch of black spots everywhere. The super hypos don't have any black spots in the body. Now, tangerine, self-explanatory, obviously, as a coloration. Carrot tail is when they have this orange that goes, I think it's about 40% or more of the tail, because typically the orange on the tail will get to like the base color, but when it starts to consume most of the tail, or about 50% of the tail, that's when you would consider it a carrot tail. And then baldy is when they don't have any spots on their head, and it is a purely orange head, just like that. So again, this is a polygenic trait. This is something that was bred to look like this over generations and generations, and you got something like this by breeding the best oranges together with the least amount of spots and the most orange on their tail, and eventually you get to something like this. There are many names out there in the leopard gecko world, tangerine tornadoes, electric, Mandarin. There's all these different names. They're not referring to different genetics necessarily. It's mostly referring to a different line. So the lines trace back to particular breeders, like tangerine tornadoes, which we breed, or we're going to breed a lot of. Those are originally from the urban gecko. There's just a bunch of different lines. So it's hard when you start to see all the different names. It could get confusing because a lot of them look the same. And that's what I was thinking. I'm like, they all kind of look similar. Why are they all different genetics? But turns out it's not a different genetic necessarily. It's just a different line. This is one of my females. She is absolutely stunning. Very, very like blood orange, which is the whole, the main goal for my breeding project here. And she's a sweetheart as well. So this girl is absolutely beautiful. Now let me run down some of the other ones so you get to see the other animals I have. Now this is actually the first girl that I got that started off the high-end leopard gecko collection. She is special. She's the one who started this addiction that now I can't stop buying leopard geckos. But check her out. This one actually comes from an OG Tang line from Leco, my gecko. That is my buddy Nick, that he actually breeds leopard geckos here in Florida. And he has, over many, many years, just produced some of the really, really nicest tangerines that you have seen at these reptile shows. And again, this is a super hypo tangerine, carrot tail, and baldy. Okay? Now, most people don't even use that acronym anymore, but I still like to use it because it helps me understand better what the animal is. She's a sweetheart, and I did want to show you guys here a little bit of their setup. Of course, I'm a breeder, so I have to house my animals a little bit differently than you would if you were just to have a leopard gecko pet at home. But we basically have a rack system where these animals in the back, there is a warm side on the very bottom. So I dig up some of this mulch and put their hide on there so they could really feel the warmth of the heat cables going through. And then I have a couple different hides. I have one main hide back here. I have some cork that they could hide under right here, right closer to the heat but not as close. And then I have this lay box that I have here on the cooler side in case she starts to shed or she just wants a little extra humidity, she'll go in there. And let me tell you, that is a must because all my leopard geckos will go in there, you know, all the time. Like I see them, I find them in their moist hides all the time. Now, of course, leopard geckos are insectivores, so they're going to be eating mostly insects, actually only insects. And what we like to provide is a mix of mealworms, roaches, and crickets. Bulk of their diet could be mealworms. We like to provide a little dish like this that the mealworms can't crawl out of. And of course, a water dish and a calcium dish. Crested gecko or New Caledonian gecko people don't really provide calcium dishes to their animals. I am actually starting to do that for all my breeding animals and some of my grow outs. And it is something that leopard gecko breeders figure out a really long time ago that actually helped these animals develop better eggs and just be overall healthier. Now, you don't want to just put any old calcium in there and call it a day. Maybe if that's your pet, but if you're breeding, you want to make a very specialized calcium concoction that people have proven out through time. And I'm not the one who made this up. I actually got this from John at Gecko Boa. If you want to see the perfect calcium concoction that we put together, click the link below and it'll take you to a blog where I basically copied what John at Gecko Boa put on his website and I put it on a blog so you guys could see it. So this is this girl. Believe it or not, she still doesn't have a name yet. So this is one of those animals that I am going to need some help naming, and she is just absolutely beautiful, super bright. That carrot tail goes, you know, about 60% of the tail, and she is just a sweetheart of a gecko. You know, I find that leopard geckos, when you open up their enclosure, they kind of just stare at you and they look at you with a little bit different intelligence than, let's say, a crested gecko. They definitely have personality. It's really cool to see. Alright, so this is one of my Tangerine males that I acquired. And this guy is actually a pure Tangerine tornado. You could see the carrot tail on him is just absolutely insane. It goes almost all the way down to the very tip of the tail. He is one of my brightest males. I have really big plans for him. I can't wait for him to be breeding. But I just love this dude's color. The color on this animal is absolutely insane. And it is the reason why I ended up getting him. So he has a really, really bright future ahead of him. And I can't wait to see what he produces. Alright, so this next gecko has a pretty funny story. We named him Milton. The reason why is because this is our first Tangerine tornado. And if you remember, we actually got hit by a tornado a couple months ago. And the tornado was spawned because of Hurricane Milton. So we thought, okay, that'd be a good name for the first Tangerine tornado we got. This Milton, and he is one of my favorites here. Alright, so this next project is a Tangerine Tremper Bold project. And as you can see, the Tangerine is what gives it that bright orange coloration. The Tremper is a line of albino. Sorry, not a line. It's a strain of albino. So there's 3 different types of albino with leopard geckos, and they're all incompatible with each other. So whenever you breed albinos, you want to make sure they're the same type of albino. Tremper is the most common line of albino. And bold refers to the bold pattern. This animal was an albino, it'd be bold black, but because it is an albino, you got to see that bold white pattern around its body. And these guys are really, really spectacular. Now, the main line that I'm working with is the red diamond line of Tremper Tangerine albinos. And they're just exceptional in color and pattern, and that's why I chose the red diamond line. Now there are still many other lines out there that have the same type of look, but this is just one of my favorites. And this is the male that will be breeding the next females that I will be showing you. I really, really like the jungle pattern on this girl. And jungle, again, is more of like a line bred or polygenic trait. And that is when instead of bands going across the body like a regular normal leopard gecko, the bands kind of like just get all jumbled up and they're all around the body. That's what the jungle pattern is. These days, most people don't label, like they wouldn't label this a jungle tremper albino, but that's technically what it is. I love that grayish lavender tones to them, and there's so many different tones to the orange and yellow. It's just really, really nice to look at. And these animals, these red diamond crosses and red diamonds, are just some of the most popular tremper line albinos right now. You could see why. All right, so that is my first girl. I'm going to eventually pair up to that guy. This is the second one. This one is very bright as well. You can see she has similar patterning, and I just love, like I said, the different tones of yellow and orange, just so spectacular. Love this girl. She's so nice. And then this last girl, check out the color on this female here. Almost a full carrot tail and that super dark red orange going down her dorsum. Very, very beautiful geckos. This is one of my most anticipated projects as well. I've collected some of these animals from the best breeders around, trying to basically produce the nicest quality animals I could. And I'm really digging these animals. I come in here almost every night, just take a look at them. And it's been really fun to just get new animals and watch them grow and see their color develop. Now this next project is also a polygenic trait. This is the bold project that I have going on. And the bold is pretty self-explanatory. You can see that bold black pattern all across the body and across the head. That is the main purpose of this project that I have. I just want to be able to breed animals like with really vivid, bold, and high contrast pattern. This is going to be our male for the project, our main male. And I have 2 other girls for him, and hopefully we'll be getting some more girls soon, because I think he is just exceptional. He has really, really bold and incredible pattern, and I can't wait to pass it down to the rest of his offspring. Now this female has very, very similar pattern to that last animal, and that's kind of like the goal with these two, is to create those bold stripes that go down the body laterally like that. This animal will always draw eyes. The contrast and just the overall look of the animal is very, very interesting for anybody, even people that don't know what a leopard gecko is. So that is why I decided to breed these guys. And of course, I just love them. Like, there's so much to look at. It almost looks like a little maze right there on top of her head. Very, very cool little gecko here. And both of these geckos come from Olave geckos. They come from really great lines. And this last gecko I'm going to show you, it's not entirely a bold stripe like this one, but it is a really nice bold from Bengal lines. I'm going to show you here now. Now this is a girl that is a Bengal bold line, and again, Bengal is kind of like a line of leopard geckos, of bold leopard geckos that have that really nice yellow tangerine coloration. And this girl, you can see she's much brighter than the other two, and the reason why I got her, aside from her being just an awesome animal, I wanted to bring more, you know, brighter and more vibrant orange and yellows to the base color of that animal when she's paired up to that first male that I showed you guys. So this girl, she's awesome. She comes from Gecko Boa, and they have some incredible animals as well. Alright y'all, if you like leopard geckos as much as I do right now and you want to know how to take care of them, make sure you watch this video and check out our descriptions for some frequently asked questions. If you like them, give them a thumbs up, and I'll see you guys on the next one.